So this is kind of a new thing, but it's also a little bit of a revisit to an old thing. I used to do some vlogs once in a while on the channel, and they were generally, for lack of a better term, not watched much, which is fine, I get that. I decided in 2019 I wanted to start doing some kind of slightly different vlogs. I want to do some hobby progress vlogs. So these will be real quick. I'll kind of whip them up down here. And it's not going to be, I'm going to show you step by step what I'm doing. It's going to be a little bit more me talking and thinking ahead as to how I'm going to work on a project. I think that that's actually something that a lot of people don't do. I think there's a lot of people out there who decide, all right, I'm going to paint this model, or I'm going to paint this squad of models, or whatever, and they just sort of decide, okay, I'll just, prime them whatever color I usually prime them, and I'll just kind of, let the inspiration hit me, sort of, as I start to paint. And I think that there's some good kind of thought processes you can do ahead of time where you can sort of think about like what you're doing, and I think that's kind of what these vlogs are going to be about. Me kind of talking about the project I'm working on. This one's very simple, frankly. I currently don't remember what they're called. Iron Jaws something or other. They're basically the orcs from the Shadespire game. There's 4 of them, and I've never painted orcs before, so I'm really kind of looking forward to it. I take that back. I think I have painted an orc before, but it was like a Dungeons & Dragons orc, so he was either gray or brown. I've never painted Games Workshop kind of green style orcs before, so I'm giving this a try. They were easy to build. They were kind of push fit, as all of the Shadespire stuff is, so that wasn't so much of an issue. I didn't have any big gaps or anything along those lines, and now it's time to start thinking about priming. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime them green. Which I guess makes sense. If the weather wasn't so crappy outside, I would probably prime them with the dark green Krylon camouflage color, but because it's Wisconsin out there in January, I think I'm going to actually have to use an airbrush color. So Vallejo has got like a military green airbrush primer, their surface primer, and I'm going to use that on these guys. The main boss here's got this big cloak, so I need to kind of determine what color I'm going to paint that cloak. If you go online and look at the painted versions of these on the Games Workshop website, the armor is all yellow, which is not for me. I'm not a big fan of that yellow kind of armor look that you see a lot with the newer versions of orcs for Age of Sigmar. So I'm going to do it one of two ways. I'm either going to make it look like really kind of dirty silver metallic metal, not very well kept armor, or I'm also thinking about trying to maybe make it as armor that is like, it's metal armor obviously, but they've tried to paint it black, and now a lot of it is rubbed off because they're orcs. They're not necessarily into the trades. They're into getting armor nailed onto their bodies, sometimes actually nailed onto their bodies so they can get out and fight. So the idea of painting it black, I don't think that they would take the time to figure out what's the best pigment to do it. They would not, anodize it or whatever like that. They would slop something on there, like a lot of soot, which would get rubbed off pretty quickly. And so that's kind of what I'm going to go for these. Either that or the silver. I haven't quite decided. If I decide to go with the black armor with the silver still kind of showing through in a lot of places, then I might prime these guys black and do their armor first. But the thing is that normally you want to paint the skin first. You want to paint from the inside out. You want to start with the lowest layer, generally the skin, and then move to the t-shirt and then the sweatshirt and that kind of thing. I've done a video about it years and years ago. Pachow. I want to kind of probably go that way, but my fear is that if I'm going to paint the armor black and then try to dry brush it a bunch with the silver, then I'm going to get silver onto the green stuff if I paint the green, skin first. So I'm either going to have to be pretty careful or work from there, from the idea of trying to maybe just go straight silver and not do any black, like on the actual armor. I'm not sure. And then there's the bases. So the bases are already molded, with the Shadespire warbands. There's already stuff on there, so you don't have to sculpt it yourself. But the complementary color, which is to say the opposite color on the color wheel of green, is red. So I thought, well, I could go... I'm probably not going to go red for the bases. That would seem silly. But I'm certainly not going to go with a cool color like a blue or a purple and specifically not a green. Having a green orc standing on a green base doesn't make a lot of sense. So I definitely want to go with a warmer color. And the material that this base looks like it's made out of could easily be like a clay type dirt, like a warmer kind of brown. That would work out pretty well. My Stormcast Eternal, the guys that came in the original box for Shadespire, the way that the bases were molded was very kind of stony, like a ruined temple sort of thing. So I went with a definite gray because it made sense for the base, but it also helped kind of really like cause the rest of the gold armor and the blue and all that stuff stand off from it. You want the base to work with the model and not overtake the model. So that's why I'm thinking a warm color, because it'll make the green color react a little bit more. So that's my preliminary thoughts about painting these guys. And I'm going to probably prime them today or tomorrow, and then start going from there, figuring out what's the next pieces I have to work on. Am I going to just prime them all the dark green and then maybe dust them from above with a lighter green? I'm going to maybe give that a try. I want to take a look definitely at the fleshy areas on the orcs and decide if there's enough skin showing, because then that would make it worthwhile to do that kind of two-tone sort of airbrush. If there's not, it might be better for me to do the second tone, the highlights on the skins, just with the brush instead of the airbrush. It kind of depends. So I'll be working on that, and that'll be the next video you'll see, probably in a couple of weeks, again on a Monday, in between the Every Other Sunday shows. I'm going to start doing some other programming, more shows like this, in between Every Other Sunday shows, so you'll see them on Mondays. That's also kind of a new thing for 2019. But yeah, Ironjaw's dudes, I'm pretty sure they're all dudes, for Shadespire, and next video you'll see where I'm at.